Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special podcast today. I'm Kat Hargraves, and today I have the distinct honour of helping launch a brand new series. So this will be the very first episode in a new Women in Franchising podcast series, which is fantastic and timely as we come to International Women's Day. So welcome, everybody.
Hey, Kat.
Hi, Kat.
Thanks for being here. So I'm joined by three key figures from the Franchise Association: Vanessa Wilmot, who is chairperson for the FCA Women in Franchising in Australia, and Victorian State Committee representative. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Kat. How are you going?
Good, thank you. Emily Lucas, I'm also joined by New South Wales State Committee representative. How are you, Emily?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Very well, thanks. And Marcel Lal, who sits on the FCA board and serves as the Queensland representative. How are you today?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So this series is all going to be about celebrating, supporting and elevating women across the entire franchising ecosystem and beyond. So I think this is a fabulous initiative. I thought before we get into the strategy, let's start with a little quick fire round. And I thought, could each of you answer me in just one sentence or one thought? Why does women in franchising matter to you personally, or why was now the right time for this specific podcast? I thought, Vanessa, we might start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Kat. So we're really excited about this because we think that women in franchising really matters because a stronger, more diverse and inclusive industry really benefits everyone by sharing the stories of the challenges and the successes that women experience in franchising. We really feel that we can help pave the way for the future generations.
Fantastic. And how about you, Emily?
Yeah, building on that, I think it's important to tease out the stories of all women in franchising, where they are at their current point in their journey. And being able to make that accessible to everyone is really important. Not just, sticking it in an event and thinking about it for an hour or so, making sure that it's a continuation throughout the year.
Absolutely. Naturally integrated throughout everything that you do. I think it's so important. And Marcel, how about you?
Well, I think it's two-pronged for me. I think from the Franchise Council's perspective, women play such a key role in the franchising sector. And I think also for me personally, extending that spotlight to shine it on women in leadership as well, which is an area that is a subset, I suppose, of women in franchising. So I think that they're two key areas for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vanessa, I was curious, for those who may not be familiar with the inner workings of the FCA, what exactly is the Women in Franchising Committee? What is its core purpose? How did it come about?
Yeah, so the Women in Franchising Committee, we're a national committee of the Franchise Council of Australia, or the FCA, and we've got representatives across each state in Australia as well. So Women in Franchising has been around for a long time. So the committee was set up, must have been sort of 20 years ago or something like that. And the reason that it came about was because back then, women were really quite underrepresented in women in franchising. And I even remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, going to industry events, and I would be the only woman in the room and that sort of thing as well. So the Women in Franchising Committee, or raising the awareness about women in franchising, has stemmed back then when franchising was in a very different space. So it has come a long way since then. So the committee has a number of different purposes. Some of the really key ones are, the first is to promote the success of women in franchising, both within the franchise sector as well as the broader business community. So a lot of women, quite reluctant or maybe don't think that they have a story, but there is so many fantastic women out there and have such an amazing stories. The other is to raise awareness and visibility of women in franchising by sharing those stories, highlighting the achievements, and also addressing barriers that women face in franchising, that unfortunately some of those barriers still do exist today. And the third one is really helping influence FCA, or the Franchise Council of Australia, policy on issues relating to women in franchising to help pave the way for that next generation as well. So something that happened only about 12 months ago, which we're really proud of, was women in franchising used to be considered as a special interest group. So over the last 12 months and the current FCA team as such highly supportive and great advocates of women in franchising, and we've actually moved to being an actual committee of the FCA rather than just a special interest group, which was a fantastic. So
Wonderful.
ultimately, we see women as franchising as a community where everyone is welcome, having those open, supportive environments, opportunities for genuine connections, and helping drive diversity and also inclusion in the franchise sector as well.
Absolutely fantastic. And just to expand a little bit on that, what are some of the barriers that women are still coming up against, sorry, in this industry?
I think it's got, definitely from my point of view, it's gotten a lot better compared to, say, 20, 30 years ago. But I think there still is some of those barriers that exist where a lot of women may not think that they're supportive, or may not think that they're good enough, to be in a leadership role, or may not feel heard. So I think a big part of that, and I always remember speaking at an event recently, and someone came up and they said a key takeaway for them is they didn't have to be, you don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. Sometimes they said that they felt, that there were other louder voices and they felt very subdued. But I think having those environments where women, or anyone, it can be a personality trait too, can feel valued and open, able to contribute is really, really important.
Absolutely. I think that's fantastic. And so, Emily, I'd love to hear your perspective. What led you personally to join the committee, and why is this community so important to you?
For me, I have been the beneficiary of so many incredible women who, really rolled up their sleeves early on in my career and offered a helping hand. Some of which I serve alongside in the New South Wales committee today. So for me, it was about paving a way forward for the next generation, but also being reflective of women who perhaps aren't in the top position just yet, but are really on their journey. Um, this is a community that is trying to serve all women in franchising, not just those in C-suite roles or in those top leadership positions. We constantly need help to get to where we're going on our journey. So one of our priorities has certainly been to be really reflective of the community, and that's me being reflective of everyone in their journey of their career. For me, I also wanted to be involved in a community that was real and authentic, and platform stories that were real and authentic. There are so many wonderful women's initiatives that exist out there, particularly in business. But unfortunately, sometimes they can start to feel a little bit tokenistic or regurgitate the same narrative. And for us, it was really important to make sure that uncomfortable, taboo subjects were talked about, because for many women, that is the reality of their day-to-day, you know, employment or how they show up for work. And finally, I think it was about making sure that men felt like they were part of the discussion, because if they're not part of the discussion, they can't be part of the solution. And a personal win for me is having men come and chat to me after events and say, I had no idea that as a younger woman, you had these fears in 2025, 2026. So they've taken that away and been able to have really real, meaningful engagement with their staff, with their workforce. And I think it's just built trust and collaboration.
I think that's wonderful, to be able to be a role model as well for that younger generation coming through, so they don't have to face some of the barriers that many of us have faced in our careers. It's brilliant. And so, Marcel, you bring a very important perspective too. So, as a board member, why is women in franchising so important for both men and women? And what led you to be such a strong supporter of this community?
Yeah, I think it's Vanessa touched on it earlier, but it really does formalize the importance, and having women in franchising actually as a committee means it gets the necessary focus, not just at a board level, but at a wider FCA head office level and all the way through the franchising community. So that was really, I think, important that it got the necessary support in order to move forward, not just with events, but to raise awareness. And I think for me, again, it was a real no-brainer. I think in my life, personally, both growing up now, not just personally, but professionally, I'm incredibly lucky to be surrounded by many amazing women. And I think that for me, it was natural to stick my hand up. And I've had, I suppose, a lot of great, not just female bosses, but I think female colleagues through my career as well. So certainly to have a structured committee and something that is set up in this way, in a framework in which to celebrate women and to share stories, and that extends through to us males as well, and getting more males involved and men involved to come along to the events, hear the stories, to widen their understanding, their perspective as well, because we've got female colleagues, leaders, many different people in different roles, and the more that you understand, the better the collaboration is going to be, and ultimately people feel good. And also the outcome is going to be better as well. So it was really quite an easy one for me to be involved with. And I'm really looking forward to the evolution of women in franchising and continue to see that awareness expand out with the FCA support, with the board support as well.
That's so wonderful. What a great attitude. And, I think it's important to also say, men are also responsible for this upcoming generation and supporting everybody, not just women, but everybody, to feel like they're comfortable and that they have a voice. So well done to you for being so supportive with that. So Vanessa, looking ahead, it's a big year. It seems to be flying by already in the blink of an eye. What's in store for women in franchising for the rest of this year?
So it's a really exciting year ahead for women in franchising. So we've got a couple of new initiatives. And first up, I guess something to mention is in June, the Franchise Council of Australia hosts the Franchise Industry Awards. And that includes the Franchise Women of the Year award as well. So it's going to be really exciting to see the finalists and the winner of that award as well. So that was one of the most popular awards last year, and it's proving to be, I've already heard that it's going to be a very popular award again this year, which is fantastic. In August is probably our biggest month. So August will be celebrating Women in Franchising Month. So each state will be hosting an in-person event. And these events, what typically happens is we have guest speakers, we have panel discussions, and we cover important topics to do with business and franchising that are not only relevant to women, but to everybody in the sector as well. So we always encourage everyone to attend those events. It's not just for women; anyone can attend. And these are also fantastic networking opportunities and tend to be very popular events. They're very open and honest discussions. Like Emily said before, making sure we touch on things that sometimes in the past might have been taboo. And we're also launching this podcast series. So we're very excited in conjunction with International Women's Day for this first podcast to be released. This is a new initiative. So throughout the year, we'll be sharing conversations about women's journeys in franchising. So celebrating their success, but also raising awareness about why women in franchising matters. And then working with the FCA as well. So across FCA conferences and events, we continue to work with them, who are strong advocates of women in franchising, to make sure that there's diverse representation across the sector, with speakers, panel discussions, and the different events and so forth as well. So yeah, a really exciting year ahead for us.
Yeah, and a busy year as well.
Absolutely.
Sounds very positive. I love it. Emily, for the people listening that may want to get involved or help, how can they actually get involved or support this committee and this initiative?
Great question. We often get that question raised to each of us. I think get involved, that's the simplest answer for that. Come to the events, bring someone, share the link when the invites go out to someone you think could benefit from the stories. Reach out to any one of the committee members and nominate someone to share their story. We are always looking for diverse perspectives, women who are perhaps in a male-dominated industry, not just in franchising, because we can all benefit from hearing, the struggles and the triumphs that these women face. There's opportunities to sponsor drinks or to donate lucky door prizes. So there are so many opportunities to get involved. Lean into the conversation, ask a question at an event, comment on the posts online. Let's keep this momentum going, but really just raise awareness as to what we're trying to achieve and make it a household name, I guess.
Fantastic. And it only takes one conversation to start something incredible like what you have done here.
Absolutely.
So well done to all of you. And Marcel, specifically for any men listening, how would you encourage them to get involved? And why is their active support so crucial to the success of this movement?
It's critical, as I said. Every single male in franchising is working with females, and I think it's absolutely critical, just like you would in terms of learning about an industry segment, studying, training, and learning about something. This is almost an extension of that, and I think the mindset should be that we learn about many different aspects associated with our work, our professional career, and one of those, which has, I won't say it's been forgotten, but I certainly think that it just hasn't been there in the spotlight. Maybe it hasn't been top of mind, is certainly women, and in this case, women in franchising. So I think that this committee with the FCA, with the events, it's really exciting to see where it's going and to create that awareness. So I encourage all men. There are events on in each state, not just from a national perspective, but from a state perspective as well. Get out to those particular events, encourage others to get to those events. And if you haven't been to one before, take it from me. It's not so scary. I'm still here. I survived those events. I came away, okay, almost unscathed. I'm just joking. I did. And it was wonderful. It was actually, I've spoken to many men that have come to those events before, and they've absolutely enjoyed it. They've had a great time. They've come away with some takeaways and something new that they've learnt as well, and something that they maybe didn't realize or wasn't quite prominent. And that's a really, really cool thing. That's what we've got to keep doing, raise awareness. We're going to get better engagement, better relationships, better collaboration, and we're going to get better outcomes together. So don't be scared, get involved. And if you've also got women in the workplace, in your workplace, that is, who aren't involved, encourage them also to get involved, because showing your support as a male figure is one of the greatest things that you can do, and encouraging that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. I love it. And so, if I were to hear from each of you what you're most excited about for what's coming up for the year ahead in women in franchising, what is the one thing that you're really, really excited about and can't wait to kick off? We'll start with you, Vanessa. Sorry.
Yeah. So for me, I think being able to share the success stories of women in franchising via this podcast series and our events, I think that's just going to be amazing and will really help to contribute towards a more inclusive and diverse future for franchising as well. So really excited to hear more about different women's journeys and success stories.
Fantastic. And Emily?
I'd have to agree. I've, since starting to brainstorm this concept, I've started putting my feelers about, the women in my network. And I came across a client of mine who's 94, still a director of a franchise business in a male-dominated industry. You've got to think 60 years ago when she was doing this, it must have been so hard. And to have that passion still live on at 94 years old, it's just incredible. And so to find more stories like that are untold yet,
Yes.
will be told, is just, it puts a fire in your belly and it really fires you up to make sure that you are, contributing in that same way with that same gusto.
Sounds amazing. She might want to be a guest on a podcast soon.
Absolutely.
How inspiring is that? And how about you, Marcel?
I think two things. One, because I've attended events now, so I've got a real feel for some of the discussion areas. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what other stories, what other themes actually come up in future ones. So because once you've actually attended and once you've actually seen how wonderful it is and how much information there is as well, you start to crave a little bit more. So I think for me personally, I'm really looking forward to that. I think on a second note, I want to see other males on the panels this year, not me. So I'm looking forward to not being on any of the panels, even though Emily was very nice to me in the Sydney one, and she was very, very kind. I am looking forward to seeing other males actually being involved, because they've got some great stories and contributions in the workplace to share as well. That's really going to complement these initiatives for the Women in Franchising committee as well. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. And for anybody wondering how to find out about these events, where do they go? Where are the events listed? Do they sign up?
Yeah, so the Franchise Council of Australia because we are a committee of the Franchise Council of Australia. So they can visit the Franchise Council of Australia website. So all the events are on there. And the other probably important point is that we are a committee of about a dozen of us. So Marcel, Emily, and myself are just a snapshot of the committee. So on the website, there are other committee members, and you can see who your state representatives are. So you can always reach out to one of the state representatives, find us on LinkedIn, and that sort of thing as well. But the Franchise Council of Australia website is where you can find out information about upcoming events and purchase tickets. And I will mention that sometimes our events do sell out and are very popular. So if you are thinking about attending, then when that does come available, to make sure you register.
Yeah, perfect. And the events only in person? Do you do anything online as well?
Yeah, so we will be doing this podcast series. So we have done some webinars before in the past as well, but we really think the in-person events are probably the main way to engage and to really network and create the awareness and really drive things forward. I think just having that personal touch and being in the room there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fantastic. And networking is just so important, isn't it? I think we're all still a little scarred after COVID, but it's nice to see that people are coming back together and communities are coming back together. And I think this is a brilliant community that you've developed. So well done. Is there anything else that you would like to say from my perspective? I guess I was wondering, is there somebody, and feel free to just jump in, that has inspired you? Like, who's a woman that's inspired you? Or is there a life saying that you go by that you can share with us that will inspire other people?
I might take this one. One of my personal heroes is Rasha Abood. She's another committee member that I serve alongside on the New South Wales committee with. She was my first mentor as a junior lawyer, and she just really embodies what it takes to have strength, but to maintain that warmth that women naturally possess. She's the mother hen, but is fiercely terrifying at the same time. And you know, coming from a English as a second language, just really represents many challenges that diverse women experience in business, not just in franchising. And she's certainly been someone who I've looked up to and really try and embody.
Fantastic. How lovely. Anybody else? I've put you on the spot with this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
there's so many women in my life that have really inspired me. But I have to say, probably the person that's inspired me the most would have to be my mum, because I grew up, thinking that anything was possible. Just it doesn't matter who you are, that you should be able to relate to anybody, whether no matter if they're in a C-suite role or just starting out in their career, or no matter who they are, you treat everybody with respect and dignity, and everybody deserves an opinion, and everyone deserves to be respected, and you can be whatever you want to be. So that's some of the I guess learnings that I've had growing up as well.
Yeah, sounds like a wonderful mum.
I think I'm going to have to go along a similar track there. I think definitely my mum, my mother-in-law, my wife. I have a look at all of them, very hardworking, incredibly resilient women, amazing as well. But I'd like to put the dad hat on for a moment as well. And I think as a dad to a teenage daughter, I sometimes worry. I worry about the world that she's growing up in and where she's moving into and whatever field she goes into. So I think it's just so important again for for men to make sure they're involved and at least aware with a lot of these themes and a lot of the themes that get raised at these particular events, because having that understanding, I think, will make better workplaces, better environments for the future, and that's for our children and for those next generations that are coming through as well. So certainly, it's certainly a source of inspiration for me. Personally, thinking about my daughter and thinking about what does that look like for her in the future, and if we can put some things in place now through these sort of initiatives, then hopefully we can make it a better place in the future as well.
Yeah, well, you sound like a wonderful dad, and I can totally understand that. I'm a mum of three daughters, and it is constantly on my mind. How are they going to be supported? What are they going to do? And trying to get this language into them early. People keep saying, You can't have everything. You can't have everything. I'm like, well, you know what? You can, but just not all at the same time. So, never let
Yeah.
somebody tell you that you can't go after what you want. Is there anything else that you'd like to share today?
If you've got any feedback, please submit it. We want to make sure that these events and our speakers are reflective of you and what you want. We're trying to do that, but the more information we have to go off, the better. We can then make sure that we tailor events. If it's timing doesn't work because it's school pickup or drop off, or a webinar would suit you better, please put that feedback forward. We really want to hear from you.
Absolutely wonderful. Vanessa, anything else from you?
If anyone does want to put themselves forward to being on our podcast series or a speaker at our events as well, we're always looking for different women and their journeys and that sort of thing to highlight too. So, but thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Marcel?
Where we're going to take this into the future, I think it's got our unequivocal and full support, but also people rolling up their sleeves. So really excited for the future. And if there's franchisors and franchisees that are out there in Australia, get involved because you're going to see some wonderful benefits that you probably didn't even realise as well.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, it's clear that 2026 is going to be a landmark year for this group. It's been an absolute pleasure helping you launch your first episode. Vanessa, Emily, Marcel, thank you so much for sharing your time and your passion today. It's so refreshing to hear from 3 different people about how you're supporting that next generation and the existing generation in their careers and their lives. So going forward, you'll be hearing directly from Vanessa and the Women in Franchising Committee as they take over hosting duties, filming live, bringing you stories from across the country at some of these fabulous events that we've mentioned today. Please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming episodes. And as Emily said, reach out, get involved. It all starts with a conversation and we all have to support each other. But thank you so much, everybody, and happy International Women's Day to you all.
Thank you so much, Kat.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Kat.
Thank you.
Thanks.